Hello, hello. Welcome back. Nicole Holland here with you again for an amazing masterclass session. I am really excited to introduce you to this man, or to reintroduce some of you. So here is the deal. There are millions and millions of consultants, coaches, and professional service firm owners who love their work, and all they want is a consistent flow of great clients. Dove Gordon is known for helping his clients build simple, repeatable, client-getting systems around their personal strengths. I'm happy to welcome him back to my show. Dove shared his story way back in May of 2016 on episode 31 of the Business Building Rockstar Show. And today I'm delighted he's here to teach us his Plenty of Clients system. So, hey, Dove.
Thanks for having me back, Nicole. I appreciate that.
For sure. Okay, so before we get going, can you just tell us in a nutshell what specifically are we going to be able to do at the end of today's session, following the steps you teach, of course?
Well, what you should be able to do is really recognize that, as I think most people listening know, there's always a very few things that make a really big difference. And when it comes to creating a consistent flow of your ideal clients, that is absolutely true. There's a few things that make a really big difference. And it's not about doing lots of different tactics and lots of, social media and online and all that. It's really about identifying the very few things that make a really big difference. So what I'm going to share with you is some very simple psychology that really makes it easy for your ideal client to pay attention to you, and then to follow the next step, to want to have a conversation and, enroll or take up whatever offer is that you feel they should.
Excellent. So let's jump right in then. What are some of the first steps in your Plenty of Clients system?
Well, that's actually one of the most important insights that I think it's based on, is that we're not going to talk first about what you do. We're going to first talk about understanding what you're trying to accomplish, and then why, because that's a big mistake that people make. Is, okay, what do I need to do? Oh, well, all right. And then there's a long line of experts around the block everyone is happy to tell you, well, do this. Then the other one says, no, do that. And then before long, you end up with a laundry list of things to do that is extremely, it'll take up more time than you possibly have. And you're not going to have the opportunity to really get good at a small number of things, to master a few things. So before we really talk about what do you need to do, let's take a step back and ask a question that I don't think enough people ask, which is, what's the purpose of my marketing and selling system? What am I trying to accomplish? And when you ask that question of most people, and let's say marketing funnel, if you like, what people often, the answers that they tend to give are something like this. They'll say, well, obviously the purpose of your marketing funnel is to fill your pipeline. It's to get more leads. It's to close more deals. And while that's true, it's an oversimplified answer, and because it doesn't help you know what to do next, right? I like to think about the fact, there's this continuum. Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. said something which I think was brilliant. He said that I wouldn't give a fig for simplicity on this side of complexity, but I'd give my right hand for simplicity on the far side of complexity. That's what he said. And so the way I kind of picture it is that we have simplicity, and then there's complexity, or even over complexity. And then on the far side of complexity is simplicity on the far side of complexity. And what happens is that you wake up in the morning and say, all right, I want to start this business. I'm really good at this or that, whatever. I can really help clients. I should be able to make a lot more money and have the freedom without, having to be part of a corporate world or whatever, or start my own, software company, whatever it might be. And then we think, that, I don't know who gets credit for this, but I've heard multiple times the idea that if we knew how hard it would be, how most of us wouldn't have started a business. Not sure that's true. I think I still would have started the business, but it certainly was harder than I expected. If you expect it to be hard, then you show up more ready. So perhaps that's what it is. So we kind of think, all right, it shouldn't be that difficult. And we're expecting it to be simple. Very quickly, we discovered that this is not going to be so simple, and we get lost in the complexity, or we overcomplicate, right? And then we get lost in the weeds, and we're trying to find our way. Where are we? From here or there? And most people never make it out of the complexity stage. But there's a small number who do move beyond. Like they They push through. They don't quit. And all, I'd say in just about any case, they're going to need some kind of mentor or coach, somebody who's mastered what they're trying to master, to lead them through. No one can do it for you, but no one can do it alone. I don't know who said that first, but I think it's true, right? And then eventually you get to simplicity on the far side of complexity. Now, why is all this relevant to what you asked me? Because I said, well, the purpose of a marketing system, marketing and selling funnel, is to answer, to fill your pipeline, right? To get new leads and so on. All that's true, but that's in the oversimplified side, right? I want to suggest an answer that I think would belong on the simplicity, on the far side of complexity side. And that is that the purpose of your marketing system is to answer the number one question on your prospect's mind at just the right time. Now, that's going to require a little more explanation. So we'll do that, right? Because if it was so simple, then it would be like, yeah, well, you need a marketing system because that's how you fill your pipeline and get deals. And everybody nods, yeah, and then no one knows what to do next. And that's the problem. And because you don't know exactly what to do next, you end up going off in so many different directions. So if we can take my approach, we're going to avoid a lot of that. I mean, there's always some question. It's the real world. There's no fantasy here. And when you can avoid a lot of that, then you can wake up each day, focus, and get a lot done that actually matters, or do less and have a bigger impact. Right? Get more clients, get your ideal clients consistently without having to do everything that everybody says you have to do. So far so good? We clear?
So good. So good. I can't wait to hear what's next.
Okay, so instead of, again, well, let me say it this way. So I said that the purpose of your marketing funnel, the purpose of your marketing and selling system is to help your ideal client answer yes to the number one question on their mind at just the right time. Now, as I see it, there are three questions that your ideal client is going to ask themselves. And if they can answer for themselves, if they answer yes, then you've got a new client. Now, these are the only three questions that they ever really ask in order to go from total stranger to happy to invest with you. So the first question, which they think about when they come across you, however they come across you, regardless of the tactic and so on, the first question is, should I pay attention? Is it interesting? And it could be a Facebook ad, a LinkedIn post, an article they see in the paper or on the web somewhere. You're passing your booth at some conference, some convention. Regardless of how they come across you, it doesn't matter how. Always, their first question is, should I pay attention? Is it interesting? And if your marketing system is doing its job, then it will lead your ideal clients to answer, yes, that is interesting. That is interesting. And then, and only then, they will have a second question. Instantly, their brain thinks of question number two, which is, you got me interested, but can I trust you? Are you for real? Right? Or versions of that. Right? Hey, what are you all about? Do you actually know your stuff, or are you just putting on a show? Do you actually care about me, or are you just trying to sell me something? Right? So you got me interested, but can I trust you? Are you for real? And now the job of your marketing and selling system is to lead them to feel, yeah, wow, I really could trust you. And then as soon as they get that conclusion, instantly their brain asks a third and final question, which is what you recommend right for me? You got me interested. I see I can trust you. Now, is what you recommend right for me? Okay. And finally, this is the job of your selling system generally. Now it's to lead them to conclude that, yes, what you recommend is right for me. And then congratulations, you have a new client. So when you recognize that the purpose of your marketing and selling system is to lead your ideal clients to answer yes, and then yes, and then yes. So now suddenly you wake up in the morning and you wonder, okay, so what do I need to do? Now it's a lot clearer. Well, first we need to put something simple in place so that my ideal clients are coming across me and they're being able to say, yeah, that's interesting. Next, we need to put something in place so that when after they're interested and they start to wonder, well, can I trust you? Their brain says, yeah, I can trust you. And then lastly, we need to put some things into place so that when they ask, well, is what you recommend right for me? They are more likely than not to conclude, yes, what you recommend is right for me. And that's it. So when you compare that to, And, what's the purpose of your marketing funnel? It's to fill your pipeline. Okay, what do I do? How do I do that? Ooh, never-ending tactical advice. Facebook and Twitter and, blogging and so on. Podcasting, right? Right? The best of all, everyone should podcast. Or at least be a guest on podcasts, right? That's a lot easier. So that's what I do. I
appreciate that plug very much.
Oh, it's very true. You hosting them like you do is a lot of work. Being a guest is a lot easier, much less work.
Yeah.
All right. So once you have a simple, so then you don't know what to do next, right? There's everyone has their own tactical advice, and everyone's telling you something else, and before long you're overwhelmed. You're not really sure what to do. You know that you've got a lot to offer, a lot to say, some important things to get out there, but it's just, you're running in so many different directions. What I think you really want, or at least what I always wanted and still do want, and are working towards every day, refining it constantly, is I just want to wake up and have a simple, repeatable process. I could do A, B, C. It's going to bring me D leads, and E will become clients. And if I can do A, B, C, brings me D leads, E become clients, and I can work that every day, I've got a business. If I don't have that, I don't have a business. I have some version of a hobby or chaos, somewhere, whether it's, systematic perhaps, but unprofitable, or, or systematic, but, or, not systematized and also unprofitable. So that's the overall idea. So again, the key thing to understand is that when you recognize what are you really trying to accomplish? You ask me, what do we do? Well, I'll walk you through what we do in just a minute, but the first thing we need to understand is that the purpose of your marketing and selling system is to lead your ideal clients to answer yes, yes, yes. Should I pay attention? Is it interesting? Okay, you got me interested. Can I trust you? And is what you recommend right for me? And then to put the fewest things in place to lead them to answer yes, 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 because that enables you to focus. It enables you to improve your system over time. It enables you to master something so that you don't have to be everything to everybody, because none of us, even larger companies, can master everything.
So good. I think this was so great, and really appreciate that you did really put us here before jumping into the steps, because we have to understand this, and not enough people are teaching this. So I really appreciate you sharing that with my audience, Dove.
Sure. So should I keep going?
Sure.
All right. So let's keep going. So once we understand question one, the first question, so now what we lead all of our clients to do is to put in place two things for each question. So I want to put two things in place to help the ideal client answer yes to question one, two things for question two things for question three. So the first of the two things for question one is what we call marketing helium. And think about this, right? You have your ideal, I like to use what we call this the eavesdrop effect, right? I want to show you how to create the eavesdrop effect. That's the most important thing we got to do. So imagine you're sitting at a coffee shop, minding your own business, reading a newspaper or a new book, and you're really just ignoring everybody, but suddenly you overhear something at the next table. You weren't trying to listen in, but you catch something. You're smiling. You know what I'm talking about, right? You've had this.
Well, this is how I explain podcast guesting, right? When you're a great guest and when you're having such a good interaction with the host, and when people actually take action, it's because you're there. It's like it's intense, and people overhear you without trying, and then they feel like they're part of the conversation. So I think that's where you're going with that. I don't know. I'm excited to hear.
All right. Okay. A little similar, but a little bit different. It has to be a little bit different, or be boring. So you're sitting there reading your book, drinking your coffee, and suddenly you overhear something at the next table, and now you're straining to hear what they're talking about. So you're looking at your book, but your eyes can't even see the words anymore, because you're really trying to hear what they're saying. And if you're interested enough, you'll get up and walk over to a table of complete strangers, and you'll say, hey, excuse me, I couldn't help but overhearing, and join their conversation. That's the eavesdrop effect. And that's the most basic thing that we need to create in the minds of our ideal clients and customers if we're looking to build a business. You've got to create something that gets the attention and interest of your ideal client in a rather predictable way. Now, what that means is, because there's a difference between attention and interest. A lot of things will get attention, but only two things get interest. So if I send you a YouTube video with two dogs eating with a fork and a knife, but that was a number of years ago, you'll watch it if you haven't seen it yet, if you're one of those who haven't seen it yet. Because, it gets your attention, but then you go back to what you're doing. It doesn't get your interest, doesn't lead you to change your plans. In contrast to that, if you're at a conference and you're walking through the sponsor booths, right? And then you happen to notice somebody's sign and it gets your attention and your interest, you stop walking this way and you turn and head towards the booth and you want to see what's going on. You want to ask them a question. You want to find out. That's interest. You change your plans. And that's what we need to be doing. We need to create something that not only gets attention, but also gets interest. Otherwise, that's the difference between noise and signal. That's the difference between just, being a lot of hot air. Like if you ever go into a LinkedIn group, as we record this, there have been announcements that they're kind of redoing their groups, about to relaunch them. I'm not sure what that's going to be, if it'll be any better. But generally speaking, the way things are today in LinkedIn groups, lots of people, and I haven't actually checked in months and months, but last I checked, there was lots of people spewing lots of hot air, sharing links no one wants to follow, talking about what they think is important as if they, just discovered it, all sorts of self-promoting hot air. So, generally it's like two types of people. Like each one wants to promote, and they're promoting to each other, but neither of them are really potential clients. When the potential client pokes his or her head into the LinkedIn group once every 6, 12, 18 months to see if anything changed, their brain is asking, should I pay attention? Is it interesting? And then they look around and go, no, just a lot of hot air. And they move on. So got their attention, didn't get their interest. They didn't change their plans. So that's an important distinction. So we need to get attention and interest. And as I said, the good news is that while a lot of things can get attention, only a couple of things get interest. And this is really, I'm about to share what those two things are. This has been a kind of a light bulb moment for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people by now. And I've heard back from so many people how this little phrasing, this little insight really helped things click for them. And that is this, that the only two things that get attention and interest is if you talk about a problem that they have and don't want, and or a result they want and don't have. If you talk about a problem that your ideal client has and doesn't want, you will get their attention and interest. If you talk about a result they want and don't have, you'll get their attention and interest. A result could be a change they want and don't have, an experience they want and don't have. Whereas if you're talking about your years of experience, your methodology, or anything else other than a problem they have and don't want, and or a result they want and don't have, they just will not even notice you. Okay? So the first thing that we need is what we call marketing helium. And the reason we call this marketing helium is because, another little analogy, imagine that you've got if I had a red balloon and a blue balloon, and I leave go of the blue balloon and it falls to the floor, and I leave go of the red balloon and it soars up, and then you go out and you get yourself, well, I'm not going to get a blue balloon, I'm going to get a bright, shiny red balloon. So you go out and you get the brightest, shiniest, reddest balloon you could find, right? And then you take a deep breath and you blow it up and you tie a knot, and then you leave go expecting your red balloon to soar up right behind mine. And of course, your bright, shiny red balloon falls to the floor. Why? You don't know. You're crushed. I didn't get a blue balloon. I got a red one. Like, why didn't mine fly like those? And of course, the answer is because I filled mine with helium. You filled yours with hot air, right? It's the same thing when it comes to the marketing tactics. Every tactic could work, and every tactic could fail. The question is, when it works, why does it work? When it fails, why does it fail? When it works, it has marketing helium. Marketing helium is this deep insight into your ideal client. It's the problem they have and don't want, the result they want and don't have. And when you have that deep insight and everything you do is built on top of that, then it is far easier to create a simple flow of ideal clients. So clear so far?
So good. I can't keep up. I can't write fast enough.
Well, you'll have to watch it a second time.
Yeah. So Great. So we've got the marketing helium. I love this. The two things that are going to get you both attention and interest are problem they have and don't want, or result they want and don't have. And without attention and interest, you're just hot air.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Okay. The key, though, is those two things that cause interest, right? Attention. A loud noise will get attention. A funny joke will get attention. A distracting YouTube video will get attention. At the end of the day, though, you're not going to change your plans, right? And we need people to change their plans. We need people who are sitting there reading their book to be unable to continue because they heard about you, right?
Awesome.
So now, once you have that marketing helium, that's piece number one. Piece number two is where we take that deep insight and you craft it into a simple, compelling message. So piece number two is the simple, head-turning message. And so those two together is what leads your ideal client to answer yes to that first question, okay? So question number one, again, is should I pay attention? Is it interesting? If you get the deep insight into the problem they have and don't want, result they want and don't have, and then craft it into a simple, compelling, head-turning message, then when they come across it, they'll change their plans. So when you're walking down the exhibitor booths at whatever conference or convention you're at, and then you notice a sign, that sign was, in all likelihood, speaking aloud a problem that you have and don't want, a result you want and don't have, and therefore you went over to have a look, okay? I can give some examples because it'll really drive this home. And the reason why I want to give some examples is because this is the kind of thing that it's easy to think, hey, yeah, of course, I know that, I got that, I understand, and very few people actually do. It's one of those nuanced skills that is a lot easier to think you got it than to actually get it, kind of like someone, maybe playing guitar in a subway thinking he's better than he is. I don't know. I mean, it's I'm sure there are some good analogies. Okay, so here's the thing, right? A number of years ago, I had somebody on a webinar I was doing, and on his website, it said, we sell dashboards and reports that help executives deliver better business results. We sell dashboards and reports that help executives deliver better business results. So what problem does that help solve? What result does that enable? Any ideas? We sell dashboards and reports that help executives deliver better business results. I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I was actually just thinking, I'm like, oh, it sounds good at first. And then I was like, well, it doesn't, I'm not their ideal client if it is good because it's not speaking to me. Dashboards, I feel like I have to.
That's a good point too, by the way.
Yeah.
Because, you do not have to talk to everybody, right? That's why I've repeatedly said, your ideal client, right? Repeatedly said that. Okay, go on. So, but even so, we can't hear it. We don't know. That could solve 100 problems. That can get 100 different results, right?
Yeah, I don't know what problem it's solving for me.
He's talking about a methodology, not talking about a problem. So now let's keep in mind. Now, if somebody happens to be looking for dashboards and reports, that'll be fine. But generally, if somebody is just looking for dashboards and reports and they come across that, now they're looking for they're looking for something that's probably more of a commodity, and therefore they may not be willing to pay what he wants to charge. Okay, let's say. But there are ways of taking that same expertise and packaging them up in a way that makes it worth much more. Anyway, so this guy's ideal client is Joe's CEO. Joe's CEO is running a $100 million a year business, and he just spent a couple of $1 million in some new, enterprise-wide software system. And Joe's CEO wakes up in the morning, and what's on his mind? He's thinking, with all those millions we just put into this, I'm really frustrated. Why can't I still get the data I need to make these difficult pricing decisions? Okay, that's what's on his mind. Now, I want you to imagine two scenarios. In scenario number one, Joe's CEO walks out his front door, and right opposite his front door, you have a billboard. And that billboard says, we sell dashboards and reports that help executives deliver better business results. Now, Joe's CEO, I imagine, will not even see the billboard. He won't notice it. It probably won't get his attention. It certainly won't get his interest. He will walk to his car and drive to the office. Imagine, however, this scenario number two, where same Joe CEO wakes up in the morning and he walks out his front door, and there's a billboard right across, except that this time what the billboard says is, it says, we help you get the data you need from that multi-million-dollar information system you just installed so you can make difficult pricing decisions, okay?
Of course.
Instantly.
Yeah.
I mean, after he picks his jaw up off the floor.
That's what I was just dreaming about.
Exactly. I just woke up and that's been on my mind all night. It's on my mind now. I mean, that's exactly it. He'll be on the phone with your company before his rear end hits the seat of your car. So not only can we like intellectually understand the distinction between talking about kind of what you do versus a problem he has and doesn't want, a result he wants and doesn't have, you can feel the difference, can't you? You can feel the difference.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's why it's so important. I've got a few other examples I'll walk you through. You've got to understand that this is something that lots of people resist doing. We resist it. Why? Because as the expert, as the consultant, as the software company CEO, owner, and so on, we know that we can help with lots of problems. We can help get lots of results. And we don't want to limit ourselves. You know, a lot of consultants and coaches and experts, we don't want to be bored. If I just focus on this all the time, then I'm going to be bored. You know, we like the challenge and the excitement of new things. That's one thing. Another is like, well, I don't really know which one to choose. And people literally go years unable to make a decision, unable to choose because they don't know which one is best. And because of this and you know, other similar fears and concerns about picking the wrong one, so we end up talking about what we do at a rather high level that covers a lot of people, but it violates the most basic law of psychology that's relevant to us, which is that if you want to get someone's interest, you need to be talking about a problem they have and don't want, and or about a result they want and don't have. And you have to talk about it at the level they're thinking about it. So true, your dashboards and reports that help them get better business results, underneath that includes the idea that you can help them get the data needs to make difficult pricing decisions. True, but don't leave it up to him to make that connection because he won't. So you got to see that, right? So therefore, we do need to make certain decisions, certain choices. And that's what's the problem that we're going to focus on? What's the result that we're going to focus on? And for who's the ideal client that we're going to focus this on. Now, the fact is, you know, just kind of relieve some of the pressure of having to make a choice, which is not easy for a lot of people. And I know I struggled with it for years. And actually, not too long ago, I realized that I was still stuck on a nuanced aspect of that. And, you know, you ever discovered, like, I thought I learned this lesson 5 years ago, and then you suddenly realize you're doing something that you
I'm having that experience right here in the moment, so...
Do you want to share?
Well, no, I mean, I'm just like, I love what you're saying about the billboards because messaging, I'm really good at helping other people nail their message. But for me to articulate to my ideal buyer that thing that they're dreaming, like in my brain, I think I am, but in reality, with the analogy you just gave, I'm like, I'm so not. So yeah, it's like you learn the same things over and over. So I'm excited to hear it your way.
And on a total tangent, if you don't mind, like I've been, you know, churning you just gave me a clarity on something. I've been churning in the back of my mind. We all know that, you know, people say people who can do, those who can't teach, you know, and there's a lot of truth to that. And other people, you know, people also say you should only work with a coach or a consultant who's already done what you want to do. I mean, there was a client of mine that came to me after spending a fortune with a strategy firm. This strategy firm was bragging that they're different, they're better because all of their consultants used to be managers, right? As if that was an advantage. And then they hired these people, and all these former managers, they did whatever they did, took their money, and then the company was left with they still didn't know what to do differently, so they still ended up coming to me. I never was a manager, but I'm a darn good consultant, really good coach. And I helped them get what they wanted, and they brought me back. The same CEO brought me back a few times as he moved on to another company in the future. And what I just got clear, and I've been asking myself in the back of my mind, that, you know, why is that? Well, sometimes one aspect, it's not the full truth, the full story, but sometimes there is definitely truth to, like, look, you're not going to take piano lessons from somebody who doesn't know how to play piano, right? But sometimes there are things that where it's hard to do for yourself what you could do for others. And in that class of things, there's certainly, you don't necessarily want to cut out those who may have not done some aspect of what you want to do, because they may very well be the masters who are able to help you do that. And because there's a lot of different ingredients that come together. Anyway, that's a tangent, so I'm just going to leave that now. It requires further development, but I just had that noodling in the back of my mind, and you just gave me a little bit extra clarity on that. Thank you.
Yay.
Okay, so I don't like the absolutes. The absolutes are great for marketing. This is the way it is, and that's the way it is, and it gives followers. It creates an audience because people want that certainty. They want to be told it's this way, it's not that way. You're right, they're all wrong. People want to hear that. And I definitely understand the utility of that, and how definitely seems to be the way we're hardwired. And there's a time for that. But what I kind of just have a personal distaste for is the dishonesty of it, and I think that I'd sooner choose the honesty of, there's both. There's truth to this, there's truth to that. And the fact is that you do get a lot of attention when you say this is how it is, and then you've got someone else saying this is how it is, and they're both getting a lot of attention. The person in the middle is saying, well, actually, you each have a point, and this applies sometimes, and that applies sometimes. That no one ever hears that person. So, that's another tangent. I guess we should get back to the topic. I don't know how I got to that last one.
I hope this is valuable. I think this is valuable because, a lot of times, I don't know about you, Dov, but I mean, for me, I have so many conversations with amazing people. I know you do too on that point, but sometimes, even though I know that everybody goes through the same stuff, and no matter where you're at, if you are focused on your goals and you want to succeed and everything, we all hit the same roadblocks over and over and over, no matter how far we go up. And I think sometimes we forget that, right? And so I think I hope the reminder of us just dialoguing about these things in our own lives and our own businesses are helpful to the audience. And I'm confident that they are. So
absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, you have, go ahead.
Remember that thought. See if I remember mine. We do tend to hit, the people who claim, oh, never make the same mistake twice. I don't believe that either. I think there's a lack of self-awareness there. I think that we all tend to have a certain nature, and that nature tends to lead us in a certain direction on a certain path. And sure, we never want to make the exact same mistakes twice, but the fact is, I think that we're going to be making a lot of the similar mistakes, and but we want to be at a higher level. And the more you master yourself and the more you master your craft, the easier it is to more quickly recognize, oh, shoot, I just got sucked into that again. Right? Now, that's not to say we can't change. I do believe that we can. I believe it's, within a certain range, and it's much bigger, I think, than most of us ever do. So I wouldn't worry so much about that. But there's that other, that's another tangent. We should.
Whole nother tangent.
Yeah.
I want to get back to it, but I want to share one thing here because I'm going to just, again, I think it's helpful for people to know they're not alone. So that a mistake that I'm not making again, but I keep making, but each time I make it, it's different and I learn more and I get better and clearer. So for example, I feel like this has been going on forever and I keep thinking, I got it this time. So, I just let go of a team member who's been with me for a few months, and it hasn't been working out. And finally, I was like, okay, we're done. So this morning before our interview, I was just writing out the new job post, and I was looking at the post that she was hired for, and it was good. And I was noticing places where I'm like, I think this attracted this person and that was not a fit. So I tweaked a few little things in it to make it more clear because I couldn't have had the experience to know that I don't want that because in my brain I thought I want this, but the other person's carrying out of that particular thing, I wasn't specific enough. So now it's like, oh, okay, now I see how this can get better. And so I don't feel so badly about making the same mistake as I did, because now I'm looking at what I already did and recognizing there was that there could be, it could be tighter, um it could be more specific. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that's how you learn. Like we all learn that way. And that's bringing up a related point. We can probably spend like the next 12 hours going back and forth like this. So, when we're ready to move on, you tell me. But there's you've got to go out and do things and see what happens in order to get reactions, right? So it's people are looking for the right way. As they, well, how do you do this? Connecting back to the first question you asked me, like, well, how do I do this? And of course, we teach clients how to do things. That's part of what we do. But we don't. The people I have a problem with are those who are teaching how to do things without teaching the context and how to think about things. And I think that we've got to learn how to think about things and then what to do, how to do it. There's let's see here. I could probably find this if I'm, let me see if I could find this. It's got it here somewhere. But
what are you looking to find?
I'm looking for something. I could probably just scribble it down. Here, think about it as like a pyramid, right? I know this is audio as well as video. So there's like this pyramid, and the bottom level of the pyramid is kind of what and why. You've got to know what you want and why. And you'd think that as a human being, that's the easiest thing to answer. What do you want? And it's probably the hardest question for most people to answer. There are some people who certainly, they know what they want. I think the majority of people don't. The majority of people are conflicted between what I want and what do I think I can have. And instead of going after what do I want, we're going after what do I think I can have. Instead of going after what I want, we're influenced by what everybody else is saying they want, and we start to think, well, that's what I should want. And then we wake up in the morning and we're putting in so much effort going after someone else's dream, not realizing it's not our dream. And we could wake up months, years, decades later and think, wow, that wasn't really what I wanted. So you got to know what and why. And it's not about getting a perfectly clear answer to that. It has to be clear enough that you know what you're aiming for and you're comfortable saying not everything else, yes to that. Okay. That's the basic foundation. Now, once you know what you want, for example, let's say, if you're running a consulting business, let's say you want to be doing, a lot of the people that we're helping are at low six figures. They want to double or triple within 12 months. Okay. Let's say, that's, I want to double, I want to get to like $500,000 within 12 months. Very doable, but it's going to require changes. If someone's at low six figures to double or triple, it's going to require some changes in thinking and in actions. Okay. So the second level is, rules of the game. Think about it that way. So once you know what you want and why, now you're choosing to play in a certain domain. You're choosing to play on a certain court. If you want to, if you're going to play basketball, now you're playing by the rules of basketball. Hockey, different rules. So if you're looking to become a heart surgeon, there are different rules, right? When you're working to be a heart surgeon, what's limiting you is the rules of human biology. So you've got to learn the underlying structure of the domain, of the field that you'll be playing on. If you're looking to be a successful consultant, coach, expert, there's an underlying structure that governs everything that you do. Once you have once you've got to learn, get an understanding of that, because those are like the rules of gravity, the rules of biology, the rules of the game. If you know the rules, you can leverage them. If you don't know the rules, it doesn't matter. You'll break yourself against them. So you don't get to choose. Like, it is there. It's a reality. You need to understand it. Once you understand that reality, one more level up, level 3 on the pyramid, right? Now this is a process. That's where you need a process or plan. And I'm going to tie this together with what we've been talking about, and then we'll move forward. And that is your simple plan for how you're going to leverage your situation by working with reality. Okay, so for example, if you're doing heart surgery, you're going to have a plan for the heart surgery, a series of processes that you're going to follow. Every single one, every step along the way is in some way influenced by the underlying structure. This is human biology. You've got to let that influence the steps that you're going to follow. This is how you do it. Because if not, you're going to kill the patient. If yes, you follow these steps, it gives you a really good chance of helping save the patient. Okay. And lastly, at the peak, well, not lastly, but at the peak, there is tools and the skills to use those tools. So if you're going to do heart surgery, if you're going to play hockey and basketball and so on, there are certain tools that you need to use in order to work that process, to leverage the underlying reality, in order to hit your what, your goals, and because you have a strong why. Right? You have a reason why you want to hit those goals. So you've got to learn and master those skills, that the skills to use those tools to follow the process, your plan, so that you can influence the underlying structure or leverage it to hit what you want. Now, before and after, this is why I said not lastly, but the last thing really is all around, before, during, and after, you've got to have mental toughness. Mental and emotional toughness, which to me, mental toughness is really, it's about keeping your mind focused on what's true, even when everything around you seems to contradict it. And what's true is that if you're going after something and you have this inner knowing that you should be able to achieve it, you should be able to achieve it. It may not be, it's not going to be downhill all the way by any stretch, but go after it. Like if you see this idea, there's this what that you really want and feel drawn towards, go after it and keep your mind mentally tough, right? Focused on that, despite outward appearances, despite whatever happens to be going on that tells you it's not possible or this or that or that. You can't afford it, all the time, all the excuses that we tend to tell ourselves. So that's a kind of a big picture process, a kind of big picture map. What we were talking about so far, those 3 questions, where does that fit in? Well, you got to know what you want and why. The next level is, what are the rules of the game? The underlying structure of the domain, the field you're going to play on. If you're looking to thrive as a successful marketer of software, professional services of one kind or another, you're not, the underlying reality, the underlying structure is not human biology, but it's human psychology. And it is those 3 basic questions that we've just laid out. That's what limits you, and it's what offers the opportunity. Either it limits you because you have to work within that reality. You can't decide, well, I'm going to talk about how great my product is. If you're not making the connection, if you're not meeting them where they are by first talking, like Joe CEO, if you're not first meeting him where he is by talking about what's on his mind, he will never notice, will never hear about you, won't even see you if you're right in front of him. It's just the way we're wired. So it's a limiting factor. On the other hand, when you understand it, then you can leverage it for your purposes. And that's what this is all about. Now, the process is the 6 steps that help you interact with those 3 questions. So the first 2 steps of the process that we help everybody build is, right, the marketing helium, right? That's the deep insight into the problem they have and the result they want, don't have, and craft that into the simple, compelling message. I should get back to a couple of more examples to wrap that up. And I don't know, we'll see if we have time to do more. If not,
we are getting towards the end. So yeah, maybe 1 or 2 more examples, and then
we'll
we can
wrap it up. Okay.
Yep, thanks.
All right. So the other steps we'll get to, at least in mention, and then I can give away something that people can get free training on that if they want. Here's another example. All right. So another example, I had a client. She had been the head of marketing for a $1 billion construction firm in the US. And she left, tired of the corporate politics, wanted to go out, do her own thing. She felt like time to do her own thing. She had been the head of a 50-person marketing department. So here's what happened. And it happens all the time. A lot of our clients are corporate refugees, people who left the corporate world, and they figured, well, I'm really good at what I do. I should be able to thrive on my own. Only to discover that, there's the same skills that enabled you to thrive inside the corporate world are not the same skills you need to thrive independently. Now, there are some people, individuals, who do really well. It's like they just kind of transition from one to the next, and it's like they never look back. There are others who they have a good first few years because they're building on relationships, and then they hit a wall. And then there are some who just they never make it to begin with, and they need some help. They go a year or 2 and shoot, I still have not even replaced my corporate salary. I just lost all that income potential, and I should be exceeding it. So we've worked with a lot of people in all those categories. Well, not the people who kind of hit a home run from day one. They're not really looking for our help. Anyway, so she found me somehow, and I asked her. I said, "Well, what do you do? This is sitting down to do the work. What is it that you do?" "I'm a management consultant. I'm a leadership consultant." That's what you want to be doing. So I said, "Well, what are the problems you help solve? What are the results that you enable?" And she made a list, and I looked over the list, and I said, that you can build a business on that. And what she had written was this. She'd written, "I help companies solve the problems they have from that employee who's too valuable to fire." That's the refined version. It was something along those lines. And that was the problem. And that was, they happen to want, result they want, don't have, marketing helium. We crafted that into the simple, compelling message using the wording I just gave you. What do you do? I help companies solve the problems they have from that employee who's too valuable to fire. Now, I want you to imagine my client, right, and a competitor. They're both at some event, and they're both introduced to their ideal client, Joe's CEO, right? Joe's CEO, this time he's running $1 billion business, and definitely has some need for leadership or management consulting on multiple areas in the business. And they've had, and with varying degrees of success and so on. And he turns to the competitor and says, "What do you do?" And she says, "Well, I'm a leadership consultant." And he thinks to himself, "Yep, you've read some books. Maybe you got a degree or two. We've had some experience. Some of you were good. None of you were stand out, but okay." Turns to my client and says, "What do you do?" And my client says, "Well, I help companies solve the problems they have from that employee who's too valuable to fire." Right? His brain is going, right? Should I pay attention? Is it interesting? First one? Nah. Second one? That's interesting. Again, we could feel the difference, right? Because of her specificity. She's focused on a problem result. One of the hardest things for all of us is to stand out. How do you stand out? How do you differentiate yourself? This is one of the key ways to stand out and differentiate yourself, because instantly you communicate, "Wow, I've never heard anyone talk about it like that before." I mean, even if you have one employee, you've got an employee who's too valuable to fire. Certainly if you have many, right? So, you're instantly, now it's not just about that. Once somebody starts that conversation, of course they realize that you can help with a range of leadership issues, with a range of management consulting team and so on issues. So this is what we're looking for to create the problem result, right? Marketing helium. How much time do we have left? Don't know how to pace myself.
We can go about 10 more minutes.
Okay. All right. So I'll give one more example, then we'll run through the other steps, and I think we'll have covered some important foundational work for everybody. So I had a client, also a corporate refugee, and she was building a business as a life coach. Now, the fact is nobody wants life coaching. Not even life coaches will buy life coaching. I mean, no one wants a life coach. But the fact is that if someone does end up working with a life coach, it's because there's some problem they have and don't want, some result they want and don't have. Now, she was looking to work with successful professional women. And she'd had, various messages, this spiritual aspect or whatever it was. And like she was a go-getter. She was already doing things. She was already doing well. And look, that's true for a lot of, some of our clients are, like I said, low six figures. Some are just getting started figuring out how to take my expertise and turn it into a thriving, successful business without having to be a celebrity, by the way. That's kind of most of the people we're helping. They're not looking to be that celebrity guru type. They just want to be, they want people to work with them because of who they are. They're looking to do great work, great clients, make a great income with people who recognize and appreciate who they are. So that was who she was. And I asked her some questions as well. What are the problems you help solve, the results you enable, and looked over her list. And what we came up with together was this. What she, you ask her what she does, and now what she does is, I help women who wake up each morning wondering, if I am so successful, why am I so unhappy? And I want you to think about that, because encapsulated in that statement is so much. There's so much encapsulated in that statement. Number one, it makes clear who her ideal client is. Number two, it makes clear the problem they have and don't want, result they want, don't have. And when her ideal client hears that, she is very likely to get her attention and interest, because you're speaking aloud what's going through her head, but probably hasn't been able to put it into such a crisp format. This is what we call marketing helium. It's rooted in a deep insight into the problem they have and the result they want to have. And this is the difference between your balloon falling to the floor or your balloon soaring, between the tactic that you're using, whatever, your Facebook ad, the speech you're giving, right? Let's say she was going to give a speech at a conference, five things every woman needs to know if you wake up wondering, if I'm so successful, why am I so unhappy? Now, that's a little long, made it up on the spot, but you get it. You get the gist of it. You get a sense of what we're talking about. Another client was was coaching people on leaving their job and starting their own business, and what we came up with for him was the message, and turned that into a seminar. And I remember that's why I thought of it now. It's like how to tell your wife you want to quit your six-figure job. How to tell your husband, I think it was, you want to quit your six-figure job and start your own business, right? And obviously husbands and wives would show up, but it's so much better than typical how to quit your job and start a business. Now it's recognizing that there is a problem that most people have, and that is, I really want to do this, but like I don't even know how to bring it up with my husband or my wife or whatever, right? And when you get that deep insight, you create that eavesdrop effect where people go, oh, whoa, that's interesting. Tell me more. And then, wait, you got me interested, but who are you? Can I trust you? Are you for real? So again, first question, should I pay attention? Is it interesting? What you need is what we call the marketing helium. That's the problem they have and the result they want to have. And craft, kind of move that, mold it into a simple, compelling, head-turning message. When you do that, then your ideal client instantly, their brain goes, wow, however they come across you, their brain goes, wow, that's interesting. Who are you? Can I trust you? Are you for real? And step 3 and step 4 lead them to answer yes to the second question. Can I trust you? So piece number 3, can I trust you? Are you for real? Piece number 3 is what we call the hand-raising free offer. So this is what we see everywhere. It's some kind of hand-raising free offer. It could be a webinar, it could be an ad that you offer some a download, some kind of free training. We see them everywhere. And the problem is that most people don't do them right. We don't really have much time to go into that in any depth, but you got to understand that there is a way of doing it that accomplishes 3 things, which is that it gets the attention and interest of your ideal client. It leads them to conclude, wow, I've never heard anybody say it quite like this before, explain it so well, and lead them to say, wow, I wonder, you've helped me begin to solve my problem, begin to get the result I want. I wonder if you can help me fully solve the problem, fully get the result. I want to talk to you. Right? So that's what your hand-raising free offer needs to accomplish. And there's of course, like everything, there's a million ways to do it. And when you understand the foundational principles and you get that in place, then you can do it right, make it work for you. Now, once you have pieces 1, 2, and 3, marketing helium, simple, compelling message, and hand-raising free offer, now we move on to piece number 4, which is the tactical phase. Finally, we get to tactics. Finally. Most people jump right here. Like, hey, what should I do? Facebook ads, LinkedIn, speaking, cold calling, emailing, referrals. Hey, that's a podcast, right? Okay, that's the tactics. And this is also, I do know that you prepare your clients to build the foundation. You don't just book them on podcasts, right? Like you help them with that type of foundational work so that when they come to piece number 4, the get noticed sequence, that's the tactical, they are ready to leverage it to get the most out of it. And that's where you identify what is a simple tactic that I could enjoy mastering, that if I master this, get better and better at over time, I can use this tactic to get my message in front of my ideal client, giving them a chance to say, hey, that's interesting, to request my hand-raising free offer so that some of them will then want to go on and have a conversation. Some of them will go through the hand-raising free offer and their brain goes, yeah, this is different. And this person really seems to have your interests at heart. I think you can trust them. Well, what do you recommend for me? And is what you recommend for me, it was what you recommend right for me? That leads to piece number 5 and number 6. Piece number 5 is what we call the elegant sales conversation. Most people, even if they've had some kind of sales training, they're shooting from the hip. They're winging it in their sales conversations. And there's a structure to the sales conversations and a critical 10% of skills that that give you 90% of what you want, make you look brilliant 90% of the time. In the sales conversation as well. We teach that, how to elegantly lead your next sales conversation. Again, we're kind of short on time, and even if we were, that couldn't quite fit that into today's session, right? And then lastly, at the end of the sales conversation, that's where you have the chance to make your recommendation. Sometimes it's in a proposal, sometimes it's on the spot. And that's the easy yes offer. That's where you want to present what you do in a way that makes it easier for them to say yes than to say no. And again, there's an art and a science to this. And when you focus on the foundational ideas, the critical 10%, simplicity on the far side of complexity, striking at the root where the masses are hacking at the leaves, that's how we do things. Then you're able to create a simple, repeatable flow of a simple and repeatable marketing and selling system or funnel that brings your ideal clients to you consistently. And that's kind of what we're all about. It's about putting something simple and repeatable in place that brings ideal clients consistently. And it's not about the tactic. Every tactic can work and every tactic could fail. It's about the kind of the marketing helium, the foundational pieces, and then being able to say no to everything because you have a simple yes. Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I remember hearing a recording of him years ago where he said, in order to say no, no, no to all those things on the outside, all the distractions, the shiny objects, the whatever it is, you've got to have a deeper yes burning inside. If you have a deeper yes burning inside, that gives you the strength and the power and the clarity to say no. And if you want to stop being overwhelmed and you want to wake up and be focused and consistent, then you've got to have a deeper yes, and in the form of a simple, repeatable marketing and selling system, simple marketing funnel that if I do this, it will bring me, if I do A and B and C, it'll bring me D leads and E will become clients, and I can repeat that and improve it over time. I've got that simple flow. If I get that, I'll be fine. That gives you the clarity that you need to say no to all the other distractions. And I think we're coming up on 10 minutes. I don't know exactly.
We are there. You're good. This was fantastic, Dove. Thank you so much. I know I got so much out of this, and I'm sure my listeners did too. You do have a way that my people can keep in touch with you and get some, the hand-raising free offer.
Okay. All right. You're a quick learner.
What's that?
Yeah. You're a quick learner.
Yeah.
Well, I first want to say that I'm giving away something that was not free. For 5 years, we sold this for $97. This was written to sell. It's not something that was written to give away. But now we do give it away sometimes. And it's called The Manual, How to Systematically and Consistently Attract First-Rate Clients. There is zero fluff in this. I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe a couple of years ago you saw it. Well, have a look at it.
I will.
They can get a copy at dovegordon.net/Nicole, DOVGORDON.net, NET/Nicole, NICOLE. They should know that though, right?
Yes,
and it's about 90 pages. There's zero fluff. It is really, I guess if you listen this far and you found this to be insightful and actionable, you should expect it will be along the same lines. I don't think there was any fluff in this conversation either.
There was a little bit of a couple tangents, but I think they were valuable as well. But your presentation was on point.
Each one of those tangents could have been another
training.
That's right.
Yeah, we have a tendency to talk a lot when we get together. Always enjoyable. So, is there anything you'd like to leave my listeners with? Sort of final words of wisdom, takeaway.
I'd suggest a clear next step. Okay. And I just remembered, by the way, actually, the somebody got my manual, the one I just told you to get, dovegordon.net/Nicole, and sent me kind of a connection request on LinkedIn. I'm trying to find it because it's really kind of amazing. People are so used to getting stuff that's not useful that I must be around here somewhere. It should be near the top. I'm looking at my, sorry. Anyway, I can't find it, but he said, it's like he said, wow, he got the manuals, working through it. And he's making, there it is. Yeah. He's making real changes to his business. So I heard your interview with another podcast and downloaded the manual and read it the same day. Great stuff. This week, I made a goal of completing the exercise so I can put your system into action and experience how it works. Fantastic, I said, and asked, let me know how it goes. So a couple of days later, he's like, the first thing I've done is focus on just one target market, ideal client, put the others aside. I've been thinking too broadly about who I should serve. I know I can give them all value, but trying to do so muddles my message and scatters my attention. Anyway, then he messaged me on Friday. What's today? Monday. Completed your exercise from the book, and now using the new focus to create an ideal client, and so on. And great. Now I would love it if he's now next comes and says, "Hey, now I want to work with you." Because I got so much free stuff, but I know that the fact is that most people won't. So I'm sharing this because we give it away because some people are going to come to us afterwards and say, "Hey, this is great. I know I can go further faster with your help." That's obvious. And then we also have another program. Once you have something in place, even if it's imperfect, the mastery, we want to work through afterwards. So maybe that's a good fit for him. But people should know this is not fluff. I really want you to get it, even if it's free. So you asked me what to leave you with. 3 questions, action questions. Question number 1 that you should think about and write out the answers to. Number 1, should I pay attention? That's their questions. Question number 1 is, what are the problems I can help solve, the results I can enable? And think about the examples that I gave and answer them with that level of specificity. Question number 2, who has these problems, who wants those results? And write down any way you could think of grouping people who have those problems, who want those results. And lastly, what are the qualities and characteristics of my ideal clients? And think of them as 3 overlapping circles, an overlapping Venn diagram, 3 overlapping circles. And it's as you answer one question, it informs the other and so on, the other 2, and that's how it goes. So it's not about perfection, it's about continuously evolving it. But where those 3 circles overlap, that's where you have your business. And that forms the foundation of your business. So make some time to answer those 3 questions and build on that.
So good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to be back.